day, everyone, and welcome. Before we start our discussion, I'd like you to prepare the materials that you need for this session. Your pen, your paper, the learning activity sheets for this week, and of course, find a place that you will be comfortable.
The objectives for this session are: define communication and explain the nature and process of communication. Before we proceed to the discussion, you may answer first Activity 1. The direction: describe the nature and process of communication using the graphic organizer. In each box, write a word that describes communication, then construct a definition of communication using these words. You may find this activity in your learning activity sheets, page number 1. Good job everyone for answering the activity. So now, let's start the discussion. Communication comes in various forms, from the simple nodding of your head, stretching of hands, raising your eyebrows, up to your daily conversation with your friends over the phone, constant exchange of text messages, and regular browsing in social networking sites. These are but some examples of how humans communicate their thoughts, feelings, ideas, and insights. These only signify that humans really engage in communication. Humans are social beings. They live to interact regularly with others. In fact, their endurance is due to their ability to express themselves and connect to one another and the world they live in. When you look back in the history of humankind, you will find that early man could not speak as you today. Records show that people have used various communication techniques such as the use of symbols, gestures, sounds, drawings, and sign languages, according to Little John 2002. Words and languages developed much later in human history. Over the years, communication has progressed tremendously. Language developed side by side with technology. Now, in the 21st century, we realize the power of communication in building relationships and the community at large. Hence, we see the importance of communication. What is communication and why do we communicate? Communication is a process of sharing and conveying messages or information from one person to another within and across channels, contexts, media, and cultures. That's according to McCornack 2014. It is also refers to the transmission of messages or ideas from the sender to the receiver through a channel or medium. It simply means that communication connects people and the world they live in. It is through communication that people are able to express their thoughts and ideas or convey information and messages through word of mouth, gestures, signals, signs, and others. People have always communicated with one another in various forms. To communicate effectively, one should develop not only skills but also a sense of empathy with others. So let's discuss the nature of communication. The first nature of communication is process, meaning both the sender and the receiver play a role in making communication effective. But if the process breaks down, meaning it is not good or it was not successful, communication will fail. The next nature of communication occurs between two or more people, meaning it can be communication with oneself. It is called intrapersonal. Then, exchange of information to a group of people, that's called interpersonal communication. Another nature of communication can be expressed through written or spoken words, action, or both spoken words and nonverbal actions at the same time. So when we talk about verbal communication, you're going to listen to a person to understand their meaning. Written communication, on the other hand, in which you're going to read their meaning. In nonverbal communication, you're going to observe a person in order to understand the meaning. I hope that you understand the natures of communication. So we move on to the elements. The elements of communication refers to the essential tool on which the communication process is conducted. Elements of communication initiate and regulate the entire cycle of sharing information between the sender and receiver. Therefore, elements of communication are essential and interconnected parts of the communication process. The first element of communication in the list is context. This refers to the environment of communication in which the interaction happens or takes place. Communication context is the prime element of every communication process that controls the communication among senders and receivers. The speaker or sender is a person who sends the message to the receiver. The sender is also known as the encoder of the message. The sender initiates the communication process and starts the procedure by sending a message or information. Encoding means transforming abstract opinions and ideas into symbols such as words, pictures, signs, and marks. A symbol might represent or indicate opinions, statements, and action. Message refers to the information, ideas, feelings, opinion, thought, attitude, and view that the sender wants to deliver to the receiver. Channel, the way or tool of transmitting the message. It is also known as medium in communication that conveys the message from sender to receiver. Decoding is the process of translating an encoded symbol into the ordinary, understandable language, in contrast to the encoder. A receiver is a person for whom the message is targeted in contrast to the sender. Therefore, the receiver is the audience of the communication process that decodes the message to perceive the meaning. Feedback refers to the response of the receiver or audience. It is one of the main elements of the effective communication process as it allows the sender to analyze the efficacy of the message. The noise refers to the communication barrier or obstacle to effective communication. Noise is an unwanted element of the communication process that communicators always want to avoid during the interaction. This diagram shows how process of communication works, and it consists of 9 essential elements. That's the end of our discussion. To further understand the lesson that we have, let's answer activity number 2. The direction, recall the different elements of communication process, and answer the crossword puzzle. You can find this activity on your learning activity sheets, page number 2. Let's proceed to activity number 4. The direction, Study the following comic story in your learning activity sheet. If face-to-face interaction is already allowed, study each scene, then fill the dialogue boxes of statements to develop a conversation. You can find this activity on pages number 3 to 5. Good job, everyone! Always remember that communication is the act of giving, receiving, and sharing information. Likewise, the nature of communication, the first one is process. The second one occurs between two or more people and can be expressed through verbal and nonverbal. In addition, the communication process consists of 9 essential elements. Always bear in mind that good communicators always listen carefully, speak and write clearly, and respect different opinions.
Thank you for joining me. And if you have any questions about the lesson, feel free to message me. I will put my FB link in the description box. See you again next week. God bless and stay safe, everyone.